All right, well, thanks for stopping by. Brian Dunat, Director of Technical Sales for the Americas here at Neat. And with me, I've got Mr. Stearns.
Hey, John Stearns here from Zoom. I lead our rooms and spaces business globally. We're here at InfoComm, super excited. We're at the Neat booth, as you can see. And we wanted to take an opportunity here, record a quick video to showcase some of the latest and greatest innovations that we're demoing and showcasing here at the event. These co-innovations from both Neat and Zoom, really bring this to life to help with flexible, modern work. So we want to showcase a couple quick modules in terms of demonstrations. As we start here, we're gonna start at our virtual kiosk. As you can see here, we've got the Neat frame mounted here on an AvTech custom kiosk stand. And what's nice about this is part of the core Zoom kiosk functionality has the ability to do things like virtual receptionists. So I can go ahead and configure up to 6 different buttons, and we could route that to different departments or different people. So it's really good for a virtual reception type use case. You could actually even integrate that on the back end with Zoom Contact Center if you want more self-service flows or more sophisticated call queues and things like that. So super helpful application there. What we're also showing here is our workspace reservation. And so this is our newer platform we launched a couple years ago where people can reserve desks or rooms or really any type of space. And what we're showcasing here at the event is when we tap on that, since we're not in an office environment actually booking rooms and desks here, what we wanted to do is we actually loaded up the floor map for the expo floor. So then we could actually go in there and see different booths that we know that Neat hardware and Zoom spaces are being showcased throughout the event here. So you can see pictures. In general, when you load these up in the platform, you could put things like capacity of the room and the technology and features and capabilities to make it easy for people to identify a place to get their work done, whether it's a desk or a room, go ahead and get their work started. So really helpful there with workspace reservation. We recently expanded on this with the launch of our visitor management capabilities. So I can go ahead and pre-register guests or visitors that are coming on site into our offices. Maybe they need to sign NDAs and stuff like that when they come on site. So that's all built into the visitor management workflow, and it allows us to register guests when they arrive. We can use the kiosk and a camera to take security pictures and print badges and things like that. So we've really evolved from Zoom Rooms to this Zoom Spaces story. Let's go ahead and jump into the first room over here. And one of my favorite demos that we're showcasing here at the event is the ability now to leverage the Neat Bar Pro, which has been out for a couple years now, with the Neat Center. I'll turn it over to Brian to sort of walk us through what we're doing here in showcasing with the Neat Center.
Yeah, so absolutely. So we've got Bar Pro set up right here in the front of the room. And right now we've just got our traditional group framing, right? So it's able to identify John and I sitting here. But if we go ahead and we turn on symmetry, as soon as we do that, we're going to see a much different experience when we're looking at the front of the room, as now it's going to individually frame both John and I. Now let's just say that something happens and we hear something on the far end, and John and I look to each other to have a discussion here sitting across the table. What we'll notice here is that the camera is going to automatically transition right to center so that those on the far end are actually seeing the interaction, can see the facial expressions versus kind of the side of the face of John and I. Yeah. Now, as we kind of conclude the in-room conversation and transition back to the front, what we'll notice is as soon as we look back, now we're back to the front of the room. For those that are a remote participant, this is very engaging, right? Because it feels very natural. It doesn't feel like, hey, I'm not part of the conversation when we turn and we're looking here, right? So I think what we have seen so far is just with a lot of the customers, absolutely love this experience and really further engages those that are remote.
Absolutely. Hybrid meeting equity is one of those topics that always comes up. You need everyone to be seen and heard equally, whether they're working from home or in here. This is fantastic. All the innovations we've done together with the front of room camera with Neat Symmetry, working together with Zoom Smart Gallery has been fantastic. But sometimes you need better angles of individual faces, and not everyone is always going to be focused at the front. So I love extending camera capabilities to the Neat Center. Also microphones, right? That's another added benefit.
This has been a huge benefit. So now we've got 16 mics here at the center of the table. So we're taking the microphone input off the front of the room here. But even more exciting, just here in the latest release that was this weekend when we put Zoom Room 6.0 out. And then we also now we can do mic switching between the front of the room and the Neat Center. So really enhancing the audio capabilities here in the room.
It's awesome. I love it. One of my favorite new products here is sort of that inside-out approach. Sometimes you're seeing, more cameras, around the room. I love this because it sort of keeps things, right in the middle of the conversation, the mic elements, the additional camera sensors. And again, it's all about getting the best view of each face.
Yeah.
And this is how we're doing it with simple, out-of-the-box solutions with Neat. So fantastic innovation, and really pumped about that.
Cool.
Let's go ahead and walk around to some of the other spots we wanted to showcase here. There's so much that we could show, but we'll highlight sort of the top 3 or 4 that we want to talk about here today. And what I'd like to dive in next is to this concept of what we call companion Zoom rooms. Now, companion whiteboard has been a featured functionality of Zoom rooms for many years now, where you could set up a primary system here, as we could see the Neat Bar 2, dual screen system. That's set up, for a conference room. And then in situations where customers might have wanted to add an additional screen in there that is touch enabled for whiteboarding and annotation, we've had this companion whiteboard capability, for years now. The problem with that was, a lot of these devices that could be used for companion whiteboard have fantastic cameras in there. So we had a lot of customers saying, hey, we love this scenario where we can have multiple devices working together as one system, but we'd love to tap into that camera stream. So that was one thing that we added last year, is the ability now to set these companion Zoom rooms up and actually get additional video streams from the camera of the secondary devices. Now, to take companion Zoom rooms really to the latest level, we heard from a lot of customers that, maybe this companion Zoom room is on wheels like we can see here, and it doesn't live in this conference room. It's wheeled around for different meetings. It might be brought out for events out in open spaces. So this thing might, not have a permanent home, but there might still be a need to wheel it in and temporarily pair it with a primary Zoom room system, depending on the meeting or the event there. So what we did was we made the pairing experience for companion Zoom rooms super simple. It used to require an admin to go in there and sort of provision that 16-digit activation code. Now, as a user, I can walk in, wheel this board over here next to this existing Zoom room, and this system will maintain its own personal Zoom room profile. So it can be used, standalone. It can be used in and around the office. When I wheel it in here, we've got this handy button now where I can go ahead and switch to companion Zoom room. Now it's going to allow me to do this just by pairing with the room. And now that sharing key that's on the top right-hand side of all Zoom rooms that really helps for that simple wireless sharing, that's the mechanism we're going to use. So I'll punch in that 6-character key here. And with that, again, as a user, not as an admin, I've gone ahead and I've temporarily provisioned this as a companion Zoom room to this system. So when we go ahead and join in meetings, these are going to join as one single system. And again, we'll be able to access the camera of both devices, the screens of both devices, and then this being a touch-enabled system, which this one is not, now we can bring in additional capabilities with Zoom Whiteboard and make this more of a collaborative session, bring up, we've got a variety of, I think we're over 100 templates in terms of whiteboard capabilities here. So, super simple to go ahead and add more value to these spaces, but not maybe necessarily having to dedicate the system to live in each of these rooms. So the flexibility and the simplicity, I think, is really part of both the Zoom and Neat story right at its core. It's always been part of the foundation of what we try to do there. So this has been really one of my favorite new features here with companion Zoom rooms.
And I would just say, I think, John, the thing that we've seen the biggest benefit is, you mentioned at the very beginning, it's the camera, right? Is now if I wheel this in and I have this in the back of the room, I could have this camera capturing all the meeting participants, and I could have that in group framing. Then we could have this one set up in symmetry, so only those folks that are standing right in front of the board, annotating, looking at the camera, they're captured as another feed from the room. So we have seen that as a really big benefit to bring multi-camera into the meeting spaces, leveraging this. And as you said, very simple workflow to be able to wheel that in and leverage that.
Absolutely. When we go back to the demo we did with the Neat Center, again, depending on the use case, whether it's adding a companion Zoom room into an existing space or adding a center into a room there, the flexibility that we offer together, with different approaches, right? The center table cameras versus a separate device that has a camera. Again, offering that simplicity and flexibility is really what it's all about. Last thing I want to show here is, I want to talk because I think this Neat Frame device is one of the more dynamic devices that we have in our ecosystem. We saw it as a virtual kiosk that can be set up there. That runs the normal Zoom Room license when we want to show off the virtual reception functionality, the workspace reservations, and visitor management. But it's also a fantastic device that can be used as a personal Zoom Room. So I can just use this as my own personal device at home or in the office. I can have it dedicated to me as a Zoom user, where all my meetings will show up. It's synced with my calendar. Or this can be placed in shared spaces like phone booths, where it's a fantastic device for people to sit down, quickly touch down, and get connected into their meetings if they need a little bit more of a private space. It works with our workspace reservation for hot desking as well. So even if we might want to set this up as a reservable space, we can book it through workspace reservation from a kiosk or from the Zoom app on my phone or laptop. And when I arrive here, I scan a quick QR code and it will check me into the device. So personal Zoom Room, shared Zoom Room. Since this is also a touch-enabled Zoom Room system, we can also do the same companion Zoom Room workflow. So it might not necessarily need to be a big, neat board that's added in companion. This is another option to temporarily pair it with here. So for example, if I wanted to put a frame up at a lectern or podium at the front of the room, that could be the system capturing me as a presenter with that camera, where the primary system is capturing the audience. So again, lots of flexibility. This, again, one of the more dynamic use cases between personal Zoom Rooms, shared spaces, workspace kiosks, companion Zoom Rooms. We continue to add more and more innovation that allows you to get more out of the devices that you've invested in with Neat and more out of the Zoom platform with Zoom Spaces.
Once again, all the camera features that you have right here, whether you're using it as a personal device or using it in a shared space, we have symmetry, we have framing boundary. It's a great way to be able to leverage these devices.
Absolutely. So, thanks, Brian. Great
Thank
seeing you.
Yeah,
Thank
it's great
you very
to see you
much.
too.
We're live here from InfoComm. Thanks for tuning in, and we will catch you at the next event.
Thanks.